Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is just another AMA video. It's been a while. Finally, we have a day that is pretty slow because the World Championship group with PSG and all, it's pretty boring, honestly. Everything is already said and done. JDG second place. There's no even, we got robbed of the excitement of JDG versus Damwon, but I feel like in the current state of JDG, that Damwon would win regardless. So yes, this is being recorded on the 10th. If you want to check this out on Spotify and just listen to it, then you'll have the option to do that too. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. You can post it on the YamatoCannon subreddit. There should be a link in the description below. There's going to be a thread, AMAs are back, number 29, something like that. Let's get to it. Kled and Scarl asks, can G2 beat JDG and Top Esports if they face them, and if they can, how this can be achieved? So that's a weird sentence. I think JDG look pretty beatable because JDG, their biggest strength coming into the tournament, I felt, was that they were the most in tune with the current meta. I felt like they had the whole idea of playing for your jungler really pinned down ahead of anyone else. But it feels like in group stage that they've kind of lost that. And I know group stage is not the best place to judge a team completely. You know, if I look at the whole year, then I would most likely favor JDG and Top Esports in this matchup. The tricky thing for G2 is that they have so many issues to solve. I feel like G2, you know, they have some good performers. I think Mickey, Wunder and Caps perform very, very well, and I think Jankos and Perks have been very inconsistent, and with the individual talent of some of these teams, being inconsistent is just not enough. You know, you can't have off games. The biggest question mark that everyone has in the back of their mind, and people are referencing to last year when it comes to G2, is, you know, last year they were in a similar position, but last year I felt like they had obvious edges above everyone else in terms of their macro and decision making when it came to the mid to late game. I don't think they are head and shoulders above anyone else. I don't think they are head and shoulders above anyone else in terms of drafting. I think this goes to Damwon. I don't think they are individually better than anyone else. So I'm trying to evaluate what G2 has that is better than these other teams, and right now, in most recent times, G2 hasn't shown us any of that. I can see a world where they beat JDG and Top Esports, and the way they would have to do it is with just great preparation, and JDG and Top Esports just doing the opposite, because Top Esports and JDG have drafted quite strangely throughout the group stage, and Top Esports just brute forcing victories because they're so much individually better. Like Jackalow and Casa, and of course Knight 3692 are so insane. Obviously Yuanja is their support, but I wouldn't put him in the same kind of caliber as the others. You know, someone on the team has to be the weakest player. JDG the same way. Like, I feel like they've lost their identity. I thought coming into this, boom, they're going to be the best in terms of achieving success in the meta, but it feels like they've stepped away from that and they're kind of all over the place. Like, they even dropped the game against PSG today and probably are going to lose the next game against Damwon too. So G2, some chances, but I wouldn't favor them in both of these matchups. Weiser asks, hey Amaro, what's your opinion on World's meta? Do you enjoy it? I think it's alright. It's weird because I was very excited about the mid laners, but mid laners are not as impactful as, for example, junglers or supports. Right now, it's very obvious which junglers and which supports are better. They get to dictate so much of the game. Of course, your mid and your AD and your top matters, but not as much. Like, being strong in lane and giving your junglers opportunities, of course, makes a difference. But it is not going to be so far like a big, massive, like, oh, this mid laner is so good, we're going to have Knight versus Chovy, that's super exciting. So far, those mid lane matchups haven't delivered because of the nature of blind picks in mid, and the nature of the counter picks, and the nature of the jungle. Mid laners are so often forced to play for the junglers. If like, I prefer a non-farm jungle meta. I prefer the ones where, like, the ganking jungle meta, because this is where I think you exercise more skill in terms of how you execute on 2v2s. But at the same time, watching SOFM jungling brings me a lot of joy. So I'm not really complaining here. Like, I am enjoying it. If that is, you know, the bottom line of the question, I am enjoying it. If you're a G2 fan, you're not enjoying it, right? Because another thing about the meta is that it's pretty set in stone almost. You know, we have the Orns, we have the champions that are good around the farm junglers, and there isn't a lot of room for creativity, partially because creativity is explored everywhere now. Like, every region is really experimenting very, very heavy after what they saw G2 do last year, and also in 2018 with Yarnan, with the Heimerdings and such. So this definitely stifles G2 as well, as a follow-up on the previous question. How valid is it to take LoL seriously if you're not a Grandmaster Plus in NA region? Is it possible to improve and go pro? Can you share how your players from Vitality and Sandbox have gone pro? Well, they got picked up from the ladder. The Sandbox players got picked up from the ladder, and then they formed challenger teams, and you know, they contested for LCK spots. Vitality, a lot of them came through the minor regions. Cabo already played in the LCS for a long time, so he came in there when there was no academy system. He just kind of joined Gambit at the time. Gilius, very similar story. He just bounced around a couple of teams and then eventually played on the LCS. I think in NA region, people make too many excuses. Like, people say, oh, player base ping, and they use this as an excuse. There's gonna be people out there that don't use these things as excuse. And right now, the scene is very ripe. Everyone's looking at talent, and you just need to make sure that you're visible. And that's what you get through playing. You need to play, and you need to impress the right people. And I don't think the NA ladder is completely useless, because if you're at the top of the ladder, people are gonna notice you. Like, eventually players are found. You look at someone like Tactical, you know, he didn't come out of nowhere. He got picked up from the ladder because the right people noticed him. And I think now everyone in North America, every team that has any sense, is looking at any potential scouting opportunities to get the next talent. So now, hopefully, coming into the next years, we might have a shift where there's going to be a heavier focus on players that don't have experience and, you know, are mechanically strong. So just have faith and impress the right people. Suspicious Boot 4282. Hello, YamatoCannon. How did you get your foot in the door to become a coach or a manager? It's something I'm looking into, but with no experience doing it. It just seems hard to get at least a foot in the door. Well, what is hard? Like, what is the definition of hard? Like, usually, I'm gonna be honest, I doubt anyone that is asking this question. I always have serious doubts about them making it, because they could be, you know, hustling. They could be pushing, they could be working, increasing their craft. You need to get yourself out there. You need to start at very small positions. You need to make the research of how you can change the environment, make yourself useful. Like, just asking the question and then being told, oh, this is what you need to do, and then going to do it. It's not really going to work in an environment that is constantly developing. If you want to be useful in esports, and you want to work in esports, find a way to reshape it. Then apply, work yourself up. Right now, as esports is growing, the level of entry is more and more obvious. Start in the academy teams. Maybe you start off as an analyst. Maybe you work as an assistant to a manager. Anything, grab onto anything and gain experience. And then when you take these opportunities and you work your ass off, you're going to be noticed by the right people. And the thing is, it takes some luck to have opportunities, but I think a lot of people that are out there have opportunities, but they're just too lazy to see it. and you need to always be hustling, always be busting your ass. This is just the nature of it, and I hate to break it to you, as I mentioned before, a lot of people that ask this question, rarely I see any success come out of it. You can prove me wrong, suspicious boot. All the best of lucks to you. Maltese LS once talked about the concept of Blitz Games, games of 10 to 15 minutes that allows you to stress test very quickly a draft and the laning phase that goes with it. Is it something that is already implemented? If not, what do you think of it? I think like I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this often when I have a second team, academy team, because then I can make mock drafts and we can just test it, run it through. And this is a very quick way of not wasting time. Usually doing it with an opponent that you have in your league, that makes it worse. I've also done it with Turkish teams. Like if I was bound to do it with, for example, I was in Splice and we did it with G2, it would make no sense. It would reveal too much thinking process, too much information. It's just not worth it. So this is something that I always do with academy teams in preparation for bigger games where we're not sure about something. Like we did this when we were practicing Lux and Sona. So we played like Lux and Sona, first 10 minutes of the game. We played about 10 games or something like that, and we kind of blitzed through them as mentioned here. Fumble asks, how do vote reviews of scrims and official games differ? Do you view the observer's feed like we see on the broadcast for the official games, or do you get the replay file to view as you please? We actually get the replay files. They're much better to view because, like, I can make a review as long as some of the reviews on YouTube about one player only if I am focused on just that player. Every single decision he makes, and that makes for interesting content. Well, and it's also much better for players in general. When we're reviewing only what we're seeing on broadcast, then it's always about like big picture ideas about items and so forth, and the discussion about wave management and trades and so forth becomes kind of minimized. So of course we use the replays. Rocky Cricket, if Riot wasn't overhauling items, what better other approach would you take to fix the game? Does the game need fixing? That's the question. I think a lot of the complaints that the community has had, whether it's with Smurfs or with champions that are broken and overpowered, I think Riot and League of Legends is in a very good state. If there was anything to fix competitive, then probably it would be formats that we have at the World Championship, but at the same time I understand why it is the way it is. Best of ones are exciting. We can always discuss matchups that never happened, because for the average viewer the game is quite confusing, and I don't like in that aspect. I don't like the idea of overhauling the items. I think it's very dangerous, because I think you're going to alienate a lot of the fans, a lot of players too. This is very big. The language of the game is going to change, and the fabric of the game is going to change. I'm surprised that more people aren't worried that this overhaul of items might actually kill the game. Every item purchase is gonna carry so much more weight, because a lot of the items are not cost efficient through stats. The passives need to make sense and give you value in order to make sure that the item is good, and that worries me, because this is something that noobs aren't good at, and people are already getting Boris. It's just gonna get worse. So this isn't really an answer to your question, but it's a discussion around your question. This is my AMA, so I get to decide. I'm the captain of this ship. I'm a Walnut Baby asks, what do you do to have such a magnificent voice? You eat your vegetables, you exercise, you sleep well, you tell your loved ones that you love them, and you are nice to people, and that increases your chances significantly. Do you meditate? I'm a Walnut Baby also asks that. Yes. That's a part of the magnificent voice too. Meditation I recommend to anyone out there. It's It is even more important nowadays because there's so much noise in our life. We are constantly showered with information that is so useless to us that it really deafens the sound of our own thoughts. And I've spoken about this in the past, how important thoughts are. Everything around you are created, like everything around you is created through thoughts. You think of a phone. My Pixel was created through a thought. It started as a thought and then it became this. The table, the PC, the microphone, the camera, everything around you started as a thought. And when we as a civilization, we as a people begin to deafen our thoughts, we go down a very dangerous path. And on an individual level, it's also a very dangerous path because days just go on by, and when we no longer think, I feel like we no longer live. Well, this became very, very dark. But this discussion we can continue at some other time. Maybe if you want to continue asking questions, then throw them into the AMA number 29. Cosmic Clay asks, hey Yamato, do you think the LPL teams could underperform due to poor draft execution? Well, this question was asked 7 days ago, so it was a very good question. But looking at what we've seen at the World Championship so far, Suning dropped the game to Team Liquid due to very bad drafting. We see JDG also doing very weird drafts. And Top Esports aren't like the most precise draft team either, so it's definitely lingering in the air from past World Championships, but the individual skill is definitely there, and that's what makes them so scary. If we look at the team that probably does the most precise drafting so far, it would be dear Damwon. Young Deedle asks, this is a tough one, Yamato, what is your favorite suit that you've worn on broadcast? Probably my favorite suit is my Italian-made blue striped suit that is double-breasted. It just fits so well, so I enjoy it. You know, suits that fit perfect are the ones that are just feels good to have on. Chris Pro 1212, where do you get that fresh fade? At the barbershop, boy. Can Machi make it to playoffs 7 days ago? No. Ben Tennyson, you think G2 has a chance at winning, or is it completely doomed no matter how much they improve during bootcamp? I think it looks very, very tough. I don't have the same confidence as last year in G2. And already Suning, like if they for some reason run into Suning will annihilate them. As silly as it might sound, I think like Suning in terms of level of play 3-0'd G2 in the group stage. I know that G2 won one game, but that was a complete robbery. That was, you know, give me the game. Gun to your head, you know? And with that being said, I think G2 making it past semis looks very, very grim, based on some of the other questions that I answered already in this video. Axelman 9000 asks, how are your cats doing now that you're home again? Well, when I arrived, Muffin came to me right away. He was cuddling my legs right away. Cookie was a bit of a, you know, a bit of a vidra. I don't know what that word means in English, but he was a vidra, for those who understand it. He pretended to be upset for about 2 minutes, but now he hangs out with me all the time, and he loves me again. So there was like a little moment in time where they pretended to be angry, and then boom, whatever. Honeygun, as someone who has played against and scrimmed against Damwon, how valid is the hype? Well, I can tell you, losing against Damwon, like I've lost against future world champions, and I felt the same. I scrimmed IG back in 2018, and I felt like I'm scrimming versus a world champion. Same thing that year when we scrimmed against KT. KT and IG, it just felt like these teams are just world champions. But there's been points in time where I scrim against a team and I'm like, wow, this is world champion material. And Damwon the same way. We scrimmed top esports and I didn't get the same feeling. But top esports, you know, this is based off of scrims alone. Like our experience with Damwon and my experience with Damwon is way more extensive than it was with top esports, because that was like only 1 day of scrims. So don't take too much away from that. Anyhow, that was the last question. If you have any questions of your own, go and ask them on the YamatoCannon subreddit. We have reached 50,000 subs on this channel, which is insane. I never dreamed of reaching this point. You know, I think if I reach a point where I get a plaque, that would be absolutely crazy. But please leave ideas for what we should do for 50,000 subs. Let me know. I think that summarizes the video, and I think we can end it there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. If you sneeze during this video, bless you and bless your face. And spaghetti peace. Bye bye.